Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with a cautionary tale about the Osmo Pocket. Now, before I get started, let me just say that I love this camera, and I've raved about it on the channel before. I've used it almost every day since the product was released, because having something this small that I can boot up in less than 10 seconds and start recording 4K stabilized footage is a game changer. And I carry a lot of DSLRs with me and action cameras and stabilized gimbals, but to have something like this that's kind of the best of all those worlds in one little product that slips in my pocket still blows my mind. Now, having said that, the next part of this clip that I'm going to talk about is 100% my fault. And I'll get into that in a second, but I want to make it clear that it wasn't the product that failed, it was the operator that failed with the product. The only thing I didn't like about the Osmo Pocket when it first came out is the fact that it's fairly fragile. It's got a gimbal that's exposed, it's small, it's in your hand. If you drop it, the lens is exposed, the gimbal mechanism's exposed, it's not waterproof. So knowing all that, you have to be very, very careful when you're using it in wet conditions, or if you're outside and you're over concrete or something, you've really got to have your hand on it. And I knew all that, but I still goofed and I made a mistake with it. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So this is the kind of action camera that I use everywhere. I use it in the car on a windshield mount. I'll use it on a selfie stick. I'll put it on a tripod. And once it's mounted, you're okay. But it's that point between being in the case and actually getting to a mount where the danger comes in. Now, DJI did a wonderful job releasing this product with a hard shell case that's perfectly fit for the camera. Slides in there nice and tight. You can put the strap across it. There's even a spot over here where you can leave the universal connector on it. So everything seems to work really well with this case. The one problem with the case, though, is if I unstrap it, you really can't get your hands on the Osmo Pocket before you slide it out. Now, I know you can probably pinch it between your fingers if you fold the case back to get it to two sides, but nobody does that. I've watched probably a dozen people pull this camera out of the case, and what they typically do is unsnap it and then shake it out in their hand. And when you shake it out into their hand, it's top heavy, and you can drop it. And that's exactly what I did with this product. So a couple of days ago, I'm standing over the driveway, it's concrete, I roll it out into my hand, it continues to roll, hits the ground, goes down face first like this, with the lens facing down, and boom, the lens is gone. Now, as frustrating as that is, again, totally my fault. I'm totally a fat-fingered, big, goofy nerd that was in a hurry to get it out of the case, spin it up, and start taking some amazing footage of a deer that happened to be standing next to the car off in the forest, and I wanted to get a shot of that deer, so I rolled it out of the case into my fingers, so I thought, and I was in a hurry again, so when I rolled it out of the case like this, it just kept going. You saw I almost dropped it there. It kept going like this. Now, I'm going to be really careful from here on out to make sure that I've got two fingers on it when I pull it out, but I thought more about that, and I said, I don't really even like this case, because once it's out of the case, then I've got this big honking case that I got to put in my pocket. Even though it does a good job of protecting it when I'm traveling, it's bigger than I need it to be, because I don't really need to protect the bottom of the case. So a couple of months back, companies started coming out with these hoods, these sort of gimbal protectors, gimbal locks for the hoods. I didn't really think much of them, because I thought, well, I've got a case for it already. Why would I buy a second gimbal protector when the case does everything the gimbal protector does? I don't want to have extra accessories around it. It just seemed like those companies were going after a market that didn't really exist out there. But now I realize what these gimbal protectors will do for you. So this one in particular allows you to slide the camera in it just like you would in the original case, and then clamp it closed. The big difference between these two guys is that you'll notice the bottom of the Osmo Pocket is exposed, which means my fingers never leave the camera. So when I'm putting the case on, it's a single finger operation. So I slide it up inside the case, close the case, and I'm good to go. It's always in my hand, which means I'm not going to drop it. Okay, I probably could still drop it, but I'm going to be a little bit less likely to drop it by hanging onto the case. So I can hold the case, hold the camera, pop open the case, again, a single finger. You can even do it with one hand with your thumb, and then pull the case off and you're good to go. So these guys, I think, are getting it smart, and they're getting it right by building a case like this that allows me to hang on to the Osmo Pocket. Now, two other things it does, actually does three things. The first thing it does is lock the gimbal in position. So it's not bouncing around where the gimbal's rattling inside of it. Some of the cases that I tested, and I think I tested 4 of these, were very loose. So when you put them on, you could move it. This one, you hear it's silent, but if you move some of them, the gimbal would actually bang against either side of it, and that's not a good thing. The second thing this does is protect both the lens and the front screen. And it's perfectly cut so that it gives you room to have a universal connector on there, or a blank plate on there. So it gives you a lot of protection for both the screen, the gimbal glass, and the gimbal itself. So it does three things in one. And again, that one finger operation is fantastic. Now, I've tried other cases, and again, some of them are only half cases, which means they lock the gimbal in place and protect the lens. They don't protect that front screen. So for me, having one that's a little longer is actually great. It's not as long as this. It's also a lot less extra stuff to be carrying with you. It fits right in your pocket, whereas this one in your pocket, you know, kind of sticks in your pocket and you know what's up there. This one's really, really small. So I like it a lot. Now, I have tested other full-size cases like this one over here, which is great if you're carrying the Osmo Pocket and you're carrying a bunch of other accessories with you. There's plenty of room in that case to put it in there, but this is pretty big. And when I go out most days, this stays in the car and I end up with this typically out in the field, and that's where the problem ensued. So having something like this that's only half as big and still lets me hold on to the Osmo Pocket while I'm taking this off means chances of me dropping it are a lot lower than they would be pulling it out of that case. So I like it an awful lot. One other thing that would have helped me with this, which I didn't have on this one, I have two Osmo Pockets. One of them I have this particular product installed. The other one I didn't do it yet because it's the one I normally use in the studio, and dummy me took it out in the field without having this put on there, are these lens protectors. These are sort of lens shields that pop on. Comes as a complete kit. You'll get one for the top lens on the camera and one for the front lens on the display. But these going on there means that you've got an extra layer of protection. You actually get two of each. You get an extra layer of protection built in front of the glass, just like on your phone. If you've got a mobile phone, you put one of those screen protectors on, that's exactly what this kit does. Now, I'm not sure if it would have saved my lovely little Osmo Pocket when I dropped it in the driveway. I'm hoping that it would. I'm hoping that when it hit the ground, it would have spread that impact across that front shield and absorbed a lot of that impact, but it's hard to say, and I don't want to test that, so don't expect me to take my other good one and then put that lens protector on it and drop it in the driveway. I'm not going to do that, but I think for the extra couple of bucks it costs for these lens protectors or screen protectors, putting those on there is a great idea as well. So my recommendation today, learn from my mistakes, right? I made a huge mistake with this Osmo Pocket by having it in the original case and not being more careful when I took it out. I love that I can hang on to it here and I'm never going to let it go as I put the case on or pull the case off. And the second thing is, put those screen protectors on. For a couple of bucks, you might avoid a lot of broken screens on there. You'll certainly avoid scratching by using these screen protectors. And then the third thing I'm going to tell you is, I know we get a lot of questions on the channel about DJI support. So what I'm going to do as a follow-up clip to this is, I need to get this guy fixed, right? So now I've got an Osmo Pocket that I can't use because the front lens is cracked. So what I'm going to do today when I finish this clip is go online to DJI.com. I'm going to place a service request for this, and then I'm going to see what happens. So if you stay tuned to the channel over the next couple of weeks, I'll put together a clip that shows you exactly what happened from the point of me contacting them to them asking me to send it back, me sending it back, how long it took, the estimate, and then how long it took to get back to me. So you get a real feel for an end user like me going through that repair process, because I know there's a lot of opinions out there about, you know, DJI doesn't do it right and they're taking too long and I didn't like what they did with this or that. So let me be the guy who tests that for you and shows you exactly how long it takes to get my Osmo Pocket repaired that the big goofy nerd dropped in the driveway. So that's pretty much all I had for today. So if you need any of these accessories, I like this one so much we started carrying it, so you can find this on the Drone Valley website. I've always carried these screen protectors as well. And again, my recommendation, I'm not trying to sell you something, but if you've got an Osmo Pocket, you may have had the same experience I have. I've actually dropped it a couple times in the grass and didn't think about it enough. Now I dropped it on concrete and it's not going to win. Glass is not going to win over concrete, and that's where I ended up. But if you want these accessories, I've got them on the Drone Valley website. You can hit the links below. You'll be supporting the channel a little bit by buying them from us. I'm sure you can find them all over the internet, but what I like so much about this one, again, is that it's really hard plastic, so it's going to protect it if I drop it in the case. It's really easy to attach it to the Osmo Pocket, and it gives me the protection of locking the gimbal without rattling the front screen and actually the front display as well. So it's a really nice little product, and they're not terribly expensive. They're certainly less expensive than the repair is going to cost me to get this Osmo Pocket fixed. So that's pretty much it for today. Thanks an awful lot for watching. If you have any questions about this, or if you've dropped your own Osmo Pocket and you want to commiserate, misery loves company, drop in the comments below and we can sort of share that crying towel together. But that's it. Until next time, thanks an awful lot for watching, and stay nerdy.